everyone, it's Jill here. Welcome to my sunroom. Today, I'm super excited to jump into my products for Ali Edwards' Week in the Life project. I, like many people in the crafting community, absolutely love this project. It can be big, it can get overwhelming. I try to keep it really contained for myself, and I'll talk through how I do that in just a moment. But it's just such a lovely project for a few reasons. One, just to give yourself a real reason to focus on all of the small things in a single week in your life. Things that we may not naturally pay attention to. And interestingly, my husband last year, because if you are familiar with this project, we take a million pictures, and I was taking so many pictures, and my husband actually looked at some of them and started looking at the album, and he said, of all the things you do, this is my favorite project. And I thought that was really interesting, and I said, oh, why? Because I do story albums for our family, focus on our family. I do yearly albums for our 5-year-old. I have a story album going of stories about him and I like in our relationship, just over dating and things that are not about the kids, basically. And so I thought it was interesting that he said this was his favorite, and he said it's because it feels the most authentic. And I just thought, yep, he nails it kind of in a nutshell. I mean, this project really is about capturing all of the ups and downs, all of the ebbs and flows, all of the good and bad, in just sort of an illustrative week in your life, if that makes sense. Super happy always when this project kicks off. So what I've done to just get started, and I'll talk through a little bit of how I think about the project, how I approach it, and a couple of things that I use to, like I said, sort of help me keep it from getting too big and help me to keep it, just focused, I guess. One, obviously, I've already distributed the products by color. I am 100% team same color, same day. I don't know that everybody does this. Some people probably will mix up, sort of mix and match the colors across the products. You certainly can do that, obviously. Many of them do work with one another. I'm sure that is by design. And but for me, I love having the cohesion. So sticking to a single color for each day, to me, helps to keep all of those bits and pieces feel more, like I said, more cohesive. It just feels like it helps to ground some of the chaos, right? Because different from a story, a general story layout, for example, you can curate your photo to match the products, right? Sometimes I'll say, okay, these products can go with a very general story, let's say yellow, for example, and I'll look for a photo of my daughter wearing something yellow, and I'll use that to tell a story. So the page looks, again, very curated. It's very intentional. And with Week in the Life, you can't do that, right? I don't know what people are going to be wearing. I don't know what activities we'll be doing. You don't know what the background is going to look like, but that's kind of the point. And so for me, the single color for each day helps to reduce a little bit of that chaos, or kind of give that chaos a softer landing place, I guess. So I've already distributed all of the products. Everything that had a day on it went together, of course, and then all of the products with those colors. And then I had a few other things that I wanted to throw in here, and then I'm going to come back to sort of how I'm going to think about each of these products. So I also got the by the numbers kit. Well, two things. I got everything. I got the buy all option. I think I was checked out in 30 seconds. So I did get the notebook. I am excited because I'm going to use this notebook exclusively to do a week in the life for my 5-year-old. It's not going to be the same week, for sure, but that's how I intend to use this. I thought that it would be really fun to just record a bunch of things from her life. I'll have to figure out what week I think makes the most sense, and just use that, kind of stick it in with her story album for the year. So that's how I'm going to use the notebook. Okay, and so I also got the By the Numbers kit, and there were 3, sort of papers that came with it. So one is this paper here that has the 6 circles, and it says, 5 circles. Life is currently measured by, and then it says these days life is measured by. I may or may not use that actually in my Week in the Life project. I think that I would like to use it just to tell another kind of story in one of our story albums. So that's what I'm thinking here. Next is the vellum paper here by the numbers. And I think I'm also not going to use this in my Week in the Life. We have something kind of exciting happening. I'll speak to that in a bit, but I think I want to tell a numbers focused story about that. And so I think I'm going to use this vellum as part of that story. So I'm going to put both of these to the side. And then the other thing that came in this kit was the counting, this little die cut with numbers 0 through 9. And it says, counting up pieces of life right now. This is another one I am not going to use in my Week in the Life. I'm going to use this in my daughter's photo album. And it's going to take me several more years to finish this, because what I want to do is I may adhere it to a white cardstock or something like that so the numbers come through. But what I want to do is put a little photo of her from each year of her life until 9, and I will probably use this in her album the year she turns 10 years old. So when I saw the numbers by the numbers kit, I immediately knew that I wanted it, and I also knew that I wasn't necessarily going to use everything for Week in the Life. I just had some by the numbers focused stories on my mind, and so when this came, obviously this wasn't my plan, but when this came, I thought, oh yeah, for sure, I want to use this elsewhere. So I think the pink always immediately makes me think of my daughter too. So that probably helped steer my thinking there. But yeah, so that's how I'm going to use this particular paper. Next up were a lot of little kind of bits and pieces. And I'm going to start with this one here. These are the oval shapes that say life and numbers. This I do want to use in my Week in the Life. So I'm just going to quickly distribute these to the pile of products that matches the color. So that I definitely wanted to use in my Week in the Life. The other thing I wanted to use, I thought of right away, these, the little number signs. And I actually think I want to use these to represent hashtags. So of course we're in the era of social media, and I thought it would be kind of fun to record, what kind of themes of stories, kind of hashtag related, is what I want to say, sort of popular that week. What things are trending? That's the word I'm looking for. Oh gosh. What things are trending that week on social media, or what hashtags am I following as part of my own social media engagement? What hashtags am I using? That sort of thing. So this will be something I will use these to tell some sort of social media based story. And I will probably also use them as a standalone page. So I don't know that I will put these across the days. I will probably keep them off to the side and use these in a single, kind of dedicated page story, I think. So that's what I'm thinking about for those. Next up are the dollar signs. I think these are great for telling a couple of different stories. You can, of course, talk about how much do certain things cost at this particular point in time. I think that's interesting when you look at your albums year over year. If you have recorded this story other years, I think it's interesting. Also, good time to start. You don't have to have done it already. Another thing I'm thinking about using these for is to tell a story about what are we buying that week. So this Week in the Life will be the beginning of June, and we will be in a heavy purchasing season. Again, I'll talk about that at another point, but I think I might use these dollar signs to just kind of record, here are all of the things that we're buying right now, and it will be quite a lot. So that I'm putting off to the side there. And then there are these little plus signs, which I'm probably, even though there's not one for every day, I'm going to go ahead and distribute them in with the color story, because these are things that are likely to just show up as an embellishment on a photo, I may use them in a pocket. I'm not quite sure, and it won't be consistent across all of them, but this is small enough for me that that's okay. That doesn't really bother me. And that's probably the only way I would be using those. So I'm going to go ahead and put those there. The By the Numbers kit also came with a stack of collection of black numbers. Not sure how I'm going to use these. I didn't even open them because they're kind of delicate. So I'm going to put those to the side. There was also a sheet of these circle stickers, 1 through 100. This, again, I think is something I'm going to use to tell a different numbers based story. Not going to be in Week in the Life. And I forgot to mention that at the top. So I'll put that there. And it also came with some plastic numbers. May or may not use these in the album in this particular project. I forgot these little percents. I'm not sure for these how I'm going to use them. One idea I had was to, again, do another like kind of single page insert that talks about like what percentage of our time is being spent on different things. And so, and let me take a step back too for how I think about this project. I definitely have obviously each of the days of the week, and there are some things that I record and are intentional about capturing on that specific day. And then there are things I just capture across the week, and I don't ultimately care where it goes in the album. I get a little loose with it for myself. So, there may be, a random picture of, I don't know, outdoors. And it doesn't matter to me if I took it on Saturday, but I have a space to fill on Tuesday, I'll just put it on Tuesday. Unless there's like a big weather difference, then maybe I wouldn't do that. But yeah, so I try to pick, maybe it's photos of the house. That's another good example, or photos of stuff. Last year I took a photo of, our medicine cabinet in the bathroom, and I did kind of your stuff, my stuff. And because my husband and I have, each have a different side of the medicine cabinet. Those can go anywhere in the album as far as I'm concerned, right? They don't have to go. I think I probably took them on Wednesday. Doesn't matter if they go on Wednesday. So I always try to find things that are, I would say, kind of like fillers that can cut across the album and plug holes. And so this is another story, another example of a story that I can insert kind of anywhere that I kind of feel like I have a space or need to fill something. So this I think I'll use to talk about percentage of time. So I could very easily distribute these. And let's see, are they the opposite of, oh no, they're not. I thought maybe these might be the opposite color scheme from where the little plus signs were. But either way, I think I'm going to keep these together, and I'll decide as I get a little bit closer if I want to put these on different days or if I want to tell a single, page story about that. But I think that's how I'm going to use the percentages. Okay. Next are these circles that say details 1 through 10. Again, I think I'm going to use these in a different project. And then the tags, life and number. So these I do want to use throughout my Week in the Life project. And what I think I'm going to go ahead and do is put them in with the, in with the color stories. And then I keep mixing up the greens. And then I will decide as I get a little bit closer to figuring out the detail of how my album is going to come together, if they stay there or if I pull them back and do maybe like a page of tags or something like that. But, and I think because this one says life and numbers in particular, it might make sense to keep them together now as I'm looking at this. Because these are obviously all number based, and they may feel odd distributed. Okay, I've just changed my mind. So see, that's why, for me, that's why these kinds of videos are fun, because you get to kind of see someone's thought process and how they change their mind, all of these little things. And maybe you're like screaming, no, I would have done the other way. But these I think actually would be great to be together in a, together. Okay, so putting those there. Oh, and look what else, because I got the Buy Everything bundle. I'm obsessed with this little glass cup. So let me take a sip of iced coffee. Okay. Let me clear. I think that's everything that I'm going to proactively distribute across the pages. So I'm gonna move everything out of the way and let's just focus on one collection of products. Okay, couple things before I jump into the products. I did want to mention. So when I get into the actual week, I have used this is my 4th or 5th year doing this project, I think. And I have every year used these sheets. These are from the Happy Planner. And they're like the daily sheets. I'm not even sure if they sell these anymore. But I make photocopies because I love them for this project. So what I use these for is every day I have certain photos that I know I want to take, right? So I think most of us take a screenshot of the weather, of the front page news app, and for me, I also do a selfie. I try to be really intentional about including photos of myself in the project, like direct on. I'm always taking sort of timer photos of me off doing things, but I try to take like one, intentional posed selfie. So I put those in the kind of top 3 here. Because they just go in every day. And then it gives me myself an opportunity to say like, oh, that's right, I need these 3 things. And I'll take those and I'll take those photos or screen caps and then I'll check them off. The other thing, I use this section here, the Get It Done. I may have like a particular focus on a day and I'll write that here. So last year, there was the You and Me kit, which came as kind of auxiliary kit to Week in the Life. And so one day it was like You and Me for my husband, one day was You and Me for my daughter. And so I was intentional about writing that down, like get extra photos of me and David on this day, for example. So I'll use this to do that. Other years I've recorded like what I'm eating, but I've only done that like on a particular day. So I'll say like, oh yeah, like meals, right? So it's just to kind of help me remember what I want to capture in any given day. These happen every day. These might vary depending. It also can depend on my layout, and when I start talking about how I'm thinking about the products, that will come up. But, I may put here like 3x4 photo of the house, right? Or something in the house. I may say like need 4x6, like 4x6 photo. Because sometimes, for me, and I think for many people, we have a formula, we set our albums up in a formula. And what I found in other years is sometimes I'm like, oh, I forgot to take a 4x6, or I don't have enough 4x6 photos, right? I don't take a lot of horizontal photos. Naturally I have to remember to do that because most of my photos now are on my phone, right? So it's kind of interesting. All our photos used to be horizontal. Now they're all vertical. But so it's just sort of things like that, that I want to remind myself to make sure I get enough content for kind of the way I've laid the album out. So that's how I use these. Then this over here is just a by the hour. It goes 6 to 10. And I use it to just like quickly jot down and record like what's the TikTok of our day. And that always finds a place in my albums. I shouldn't say always, I guess 3 years I've found a way to incorporate that in our albums. And I'm not particularly, I'm not particular about it. I don't record every single thing every single minute, but it's meant to be for me a little bit more illustrative of like, this is kind of the flow of the day. And if something different or unique happened in that day. So that's what I'm doing here. And I do think it's interesting, right? I have a 5-year-old, and when I first started this project, she was 1, I guess. And so, it is interesting, like wake up time is very different now than it was when she was 1. And so being able to kind of see that in the course of like again, like a kind of a TikTok of the day, I think is good. And so this for me is really easy. It's really simple and it works. I've also in the past used this grateful for. I've actually recorded like a gratitude of the day. This year I'll decide what I want to do. Maybe just sort of like a quick couple of bullet points around how I'm feeling or how the day was. Was it a good day, a not so great day, right? Little things like that. So that's how I use this. And then on the back, which is literally just a grid, I will use this to capture notes for the day. I definitely use this when I go to assemble my album, because I'll start writing down like, okay, 6 3x4 photos, and then I may have 5 of them. So I'll record, still need 1 3x4, right? So it just helps me as I get further into the process around, the assembly part of the album, what I still need to like finish this day. So these sheets have been great for me. So this is how, one thing that I do to help keep me focused, and I'll have 7 of these. I staple it, I write the days of the week at the top, and then this little packet of paper comes with me everywhere during Week in the Life. I keep it at a very prominent place. Okay, so that's that little tip there. So now getting into the products, what I've done is, and I'm currently using Coco Daisy's planner. I'm going to be moving out of it soon here, but I still have some, these are like the daily sheets from this month's kit. And so it was handy. So I used it to jot some things down. So right away I started thinking, what types of things do I think I want to record in my album? And some of this, of course, is informed by how I've approached this project in the past. So like I said, I'm going to still do my same 3 daily pictures. So I put those there. By the numbers is a little bit different this year, right? And so I'm thinking like, okay, some things that I have recorded the numbers of in past albums that I would like to think about are, cups of coffee. I drink a ton of that. So always recording that. How many meetings? How many bottles of milk is my daughter drinking? Of course, when she started, she was a baby. And so, or younger, she was drinking a lot of milk. She is drinking less now, but she is still drinking bottles to go to sleep. So I was like, maybe I'll still record like, how many bottles of milk. And then this is the other, I said there was kind of a big thing happening for us. We bought a house. And so we are going to be moving at the end of June. And so that is why I want to use the dollar signs for things we're buying, because we are furnishing and purchasing a lot of things for the house, or certainly will be at that time. We'll be heavy into preparation for moving. And so I thought like things by the numbers related to the move. That's also one of the other, why I pulled the by the numbers vellum out of this kit. I do want to tell a numbers based story in our family album about the move. So like, how many bags of trash, how many pieces of furniture did we get rid of? How many days did it take to close on the house? How many minutes after closing did we start moving things in? The answer was 20. So, little funny things like that. So there might be some move related, I expect there will be move related things happening this week. And so capturing by the numbers in the Week in the Life album, I think is something I will definitely do. I'm thinking about doing, not definite, because I put a question mark. Okay. So now here, these are things that I know I want to kind of think about or collect. So I always want to have like a hero photo. Every album that I've done, I've had one photo that has been a standout photo, whether I printed as a full page pic. Last year it was printed as a 4x4, but it was on a very particular card that came with last year's products. And so, I want to make sure I capture like kind of the quintessential photo of the day, if you will. I definitely want to collect ephemera from the week. So things that we are buying, products we're using, things like that. Top 3 highlights. So my journaling every year, I always tend to use a card. I tend to use a card like this, like one of the 3x4 journaling, to just jot down like a few small things from the day. Like, in past, it's been sort of things I want to remember. Actually, I should probably write that down. Things to remember. And I think there's a remember prompt in here too. But I always I tend to do smaller bits of journaling. I'm not somebody who does a lot of long form journaling. I don't tend to do a lot of long form journaling in my story albums, and I don't tend to do it in Week in the Life. So this is a way for me to make it, again, for me to make it manageable. Some people love and are good with sitting down and writing like a really long, full page capture of the day. That is really hard for me. So I prefer to write I write decent amounts, but I prefer to kind of break it up, if you will. So I'll do something around like the top highlights of the day. I definitely want to capture ING things. And in the kit, I didn't pull all these things over because these are more general. I haven't figured out where to put them, but the kit came with this sticker kit: loving, listening, watching, working, feeling, eating, a bunch of ING words, color, in the color palette, of course, that I don't think there's one for every single day, but definitely a way to incorporate ING into the stories. So I'll do that. A TikTok, as I mentioned, so keep just kind of tracking how we spend the 24-hour kind of period across each day. Someplace I like to capture my reflections, just generally like, how did the day go, or what's happening in our lives right now. And I will always use a journaling card for that. And then this year I added something like, what is Winter making? So Winter's my daughter, she's 5, and she's drawing a lot and, making little things like making pillow forts, she's making little secret rooms with pillows and stuffed animals, little things like that. And so I thought that it would be fun to capture a picture of that in the album. Every day she's making something new or different, and I thought it would be fun to add that into this album. I already noted things we're buying, so with the dollar signs there, and I just added things I want to remember. So those are a few thought starters for me as I dig into the products. And then the last couple of things I added onto this sheet when I was kind of brainstorming was what are some general, let me start here. I kind of just quickly wrote down, it was convenient, there were seven lines, so I did one for each day. Is there anything special happening that I already know is happening in the week that we're doing this project? And the answer is yes. So on Saturday, my middle daughter, my stepdaughter, but our middle child, she's graduating from high school this year, and she has prom on Saturday. So that would be an amazing story to capture in our, on Saturday in the album. The other thing that's happening this week is there is no school on Thursday and Friday. So those are going to be unusual days. It's different from a typical week for us during the year, obviously. But it also represents an opportunity. There may be something different or unique, definitely for my daughter. So we have childcare help, and she used to come when my daughter was younger as a nanny, she would come every morning, but now we take our daughter to school and she just picks her up after school. But these 2 days my daughter's not in school, our nanny will be here in the morning, and so I will have more opportunity to take pictures of them together, which I love. So coming over here, this was just sort of like general things to remember. Our oldest daughter, Daisy, is going to be home. So she's in college now, but she moves out in the middle of May. So this year for Week in the Life, Daisy will be home. Last year, because of the timing of Week in the Life, Daisy was not here. So I want to be thoughtful and intentional about capturing more photos of Daisy this year in this project, because she will be home, and it's a different kind of unusual thing, something to pay attention to. It's the last year our nanny will be with us, and so I do want to make sure, as I noted, that I capture a lot of photos of her with our daughter. That is kind of special and unique, and it will be the last time she's captured in this album in this way, and so I want to pay attention to that. And then, of course, we're moving, and so I'll pay attention to that. So those are just kind of some thought starters. Okay, I'm going to just capture random notes as we go, and I am going to jump into it. Okay, so of course the first thing that we all always do is decide what's going to be the first page for the day, sort of the demarcation for the new day. And for me, I wanted it to be this transparency pattern that was in the kit. I knew right away that this was going to be my opener for each of the days. And I also wanted to take advantage of that little window that says, hello, and then whatever the day is. And I want to put a photo behind that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to directly adhere to the transparency, or if I'm going to be strategic about where a photo might be placed on the page behind it. But that was my idea there, that I wanted to do that. And then the other thing that I knew I wanted to do was the pattern paper that had the repeat of Allie's handwriting of each of the days of the week. I wanted that to be basically the closing page. And so, how do I want to explain this? I wanted the So I'm working with the Monday products here. I wanted the red pattern paper for Monday to be on the left, and then the transparency to be on the right, which was the kind of heading into all of the contents for that day. I don't think I'm explaining this properly, but basically, I knew I wanted those two things to be opposite of each other. That's what I did there. Okay, now here I'm just looking at the different materials. I'm reading the quote and trying to figure out what I want to do with these pieces. I tend to like to start my day with a pocket page and usually like a general kind of reflections or overview. So what I'm thinking here is I'll use the card, the one here that says Monday. I'm going to use that for some general reflections. I've put the oval next to it in a three pocket page, so two 3x4s at the top, and then for the bottom 4x6 I will add a photo. So that's my plan there. Then on the back side of that pocket page, I will put a photo on the back side of the oval. I am possibly going to add another photo to the 3x4 kind of rectangular shape, or I could use that for some journaling. I'm not sure which. And then I'm going to pair it with this little card, the kind of brush strokes card that also had the scallop design around the edges. And when I saw that 4x6 card, it reminded me, the scallop design on it reminds me of sort of a child's handwriting, like a kid's handwriting. And my daughter is 5 and she is writing a ton. She's drawing and coloring and, just kind of always making little things. And so I decided that I'm going to use that 3x4, that 3 pocket page, that side, to tell a story of the day of something that my daughter is making. So that's just my kind of idea there. And then on the opposite side, I've added another of the pocket pages. This one is the 4x6 at the top and then 6 of the 2x2s down at the bottom. I think, it just kind of makes sense to put that opposite. And I've used these, the 2x2 pockets in the past, and I think many of us do, just to collect a bunch of little, I would say kind of micro stories or micro, what's the word? Micro experiences for the day. Little mini things. So I'm gonna put that to the side, and I like the idea of pairing the wood hearts. So I've got one of the hearts paired with the card, the 4x6 card that will have whatever my daughter's making, and then I've put one of the other one of the other hearts in the pocket page opposite. So that's what I'm going to do there. I flipped this over now, and I'm just kind of looking at what the back side of that page would be and how I might want to use that. So again, I'm just kind of playing with some of the plastic pieces, the half circle pieces that came in the kit, and trying to think like what I might kind of slip into those 2x2 pockets. So just kind of playing around a little bit. And then I remembered there was a paper that came in the kit that's the same sort of, colorful boxes, the same pattern as the transparency. And so I took a look at it to see what colors were on the page, how many of each, and that sort of thing. And so what I'm going to do is cut this paper apart, and I'm going to create just 2x2 squares for myself, and I'm going to use those distributed, within the color story of the days to use as some filler spots on the back of this 2x2 page. So here I'm just adding that, kind of sketching that out. So what I'm trying to do, and actually this kind of sketch format I got from Linda Jordan of Linda Loves Creating. So I saw this in one of her videos for Week in the Life, I think probably 2 years ago. And what I like about how she sketches for this project is she puts the left and right hand sides of the pages sort of together and shows herself like, here's what the double-sided kind of spread would look like. And I just really like that. For me, that really works through this project. So I figured out that the left-hand side is going to be this, the 4x6 with the 2x2s, and then something on the right-hand side. And I'm just, again, playing with the products, trying to figure out what I think I might put in there. I did look at this 4x4 card and I thought I could put that in the 4x6 spot and then use my fuse tool to seal that off. So basically I would create a 4x4 section and then a 2x4 section. And so I might do that, and then just sort of add like sequins or little confettis in that 2x4 section. Now that of course would mean the opposite side of that pocket page will also need to be a 4x4 item, but that's fine because I'm thinking that it would be a photo anyway, and so I can just print my photo as a square. Okay, and so the other thing I've decided to do is take the little half circle that says bits of life or pieces of life. I'm going to adhere that to the front of a 3x8 pocket, and that way you can pull the little paper insert in and out of the half circle, but it's layered on something that will be inside of that pocket. And so now I'm just working on the back side of that 3x8 pocket and then trying to figure out what will be on the right hand side opposite of that. And just looking through a bunch of the different products, one of the things that I was really drawn to was this the paper that's got the little scalloped edge. So it's got 3 kind of color blocks and then a scalloped edge. But another piece that was in the kit was the 3x8 that said 1, 2, 3, and also had that same kind of scalloped edge, but it was cut out, so it's kind of got a lacy feel to it. I really loved the idea of layering these two pieces together. Obviously, the color block, the full-size page has the 3 color blocks. The white card has the numbers 1, 2, 3, and I liked how the white kind of lacy looked over the scalloped edge of the paper. So I'm definitely going to adhere those together, and then I can use sort of one piece of that. We've got kind of 3 sections, and I can use one side for photo and the other side for the journaling about that photo. So basically, it gives me an opportunity to focus on sort of 3 things. So maybe it will be 3 highlights, or probably won't be my meals because I don't need to write that much. I don't need that much journaling space to talk about the 3 things I ate that day, but my 3 meals that day. But some version of like kind of three things that kind of go together on that page. So I flipped that over now, and I'm looking to see how I might want to take advantage of the backside of this paper. And I do this a lot for projects like this where, the album is an entire project in and of itself. So I've got, Week in the Life or December Daily would be another example of that. And I like to keep the bulk down, basically. That's what I'm trying to do here. So by figuring out how I can use the backside of that paper, the white side, just as my foundation for a story, then again, that just kind of helps to keep the bulk down in the album. So right now what I'm doing is sketching out how I think I want to use these pieces together. What I'm ultimately going to decide is that the back of the white cardstock is going to be where I'm going to tell my by the numbers story. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I will collect different aspects of things that I'm counting over the week, and I will tell those throughout the week. So Monday might house the story about how much money we spent that week, right? But it will be representative of the entire week, not exclusive to the day of Monday, but that's just where that story will be housed. So that's what I'm going to do there. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to use this longer kind of narrow card as a place to hold my TikTok. So you saw me pull over the numbered stamps there. I'm going to stamp down in that kind of tan colored side of the paper is where I'm going to stamp the numbers. I'll find the one that looks the most kind of like a digital clock, and I'm going to stamp different times throughout the day in that tan section. And then that will be mounted on white cardstock. So on the left side of the red color block, I will include photos. So these will be very illustrative. It will not be a photo for every time that I capture in the TikTok, but just some way to sort of track, generally speaking, what's gone on in the day. So that's what that is. That side is going to look like. Now I flipped that over and I'm now trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the back side of that. And I think this is actually going to be the end of my daily formula. So Monday will end with that TikTok page. And then on the back side of that will be the start for Tuesday. So that's what I'm currently thinking. And what you'll see me doing here, and I won't keep all of this footage in, but just give you an idea of what I'm doing to kind of close out my process. I've pulled over my notes of all of the stories that I want to tell, and I'm mapping those to my design layout. So I'm trying to make sure that I have identified a potential home or spot for all of the stories that I know I want to tell throughout this project. Again, double page to open the day, probably a hero photo of some kind here. Then a little photo behind. I just love kind of a photo peeking back behind the hello. I'll move into a 3 pocket page here, journaling photo. Journaling here, 2 photos. This will be something related to my daughter and things that she's making. Another kind of today looked like. This will probably be the weather, the news app, and something else. But I like kind of being able to capture that here, and a larger 4x6 photo here, and probably two small journaling points. Journaling spots. Flipping to the back here, I think this is where I'll collect my ephemera. So some version of that. I like the chipboard with the heart here, and we'll probably do that on the back because I like the idea of having something representing the day on as many pages as possible. I think I will also likely fuse this closed and add some sequins because, who doesn't love sequins? Then here, I'm going to use this backside of this 3x8 for something capturing ing words. I do have another stamp set. I think it was from last year. I may grab that and use that, but something along the lines of that here. This will be kind of my top 3 big moments of the day. Photo, and journaling here. I love how this looks. Super excited. I didn't put this all the way down. I just kind of tacked it to remind myself. I don't want to stick it down until I've already adhered my journaling. The back side here, this is where I'm going to use the today by the numbers, and I dropped some of these bits in a pocket page here just to remind myself that I want to use that here. So it's meant to kind of flip with that page. One day will be, things we're buying. One day will be the percentage of time we're spending. One day may be the tags that I pulled at the beginning, kind of life and numbers and assembled on here. So I like the idea of being able to help reduce the volume in the album by not putting another page back here. And this is the back of this is a great, blank canvas. So I'll use that as a foundation page for that. This again will go on a, what do I want to say? White cardstock. Although I'm just realizing it's going to be on the back of this, right, from the next day. But I think I still need to put a piece of paper here. I really want to make this a flip out. That may not really be useful. So maybe at the end of the day, I won't actually do that, and I'll just adhere it on the back, and I'll do my timestamp and then add some photos. So we'll see, but that's, kind of how I'm thinking about that. And then it'll flip to the next day. So that'll be it. I didn't find clear early homes for these things, but they will definitely make their way into the album. I'm sure I may decide I want to use something as a repeated element as I get my photos. I may throw in an extra pocket page in there somewhere, and then I could easily use these two to make my own journaling cards. So we'll see. That's it. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I can't wait to dive into this project with you on June 2nd, and I can't wait to see what you all do with the products. See you in the next one. Bye.